My name is Evan. I'm the founder of Let'sGetFunded.com. And yes, that is accurate. I have secured and gotten access to $1.5 million of business funding without ever paying a dollar of credit card interest. Now, for every single person in this room, if you had access to $1.5 million for free, that would probably make your business go a little bit smoother or make your life a little bit easier. Can we agree on that? Cool. And also how I plan to get $3 million in the next 6 months. How this session can change your life. Again, like I said, credit is applicable to every single person. Whether you need to fix your credit, build out your credit, get access to business funding. Maybe you have bank statements. Maybe you have tax returns. We're going to go over everything. I've also heard a lot of chatter about school, about growing your online community. One great use case, I've used this business funding to grow my school community to over $100,000 a month every single month. So very, very, very high level stuff. So, a lot of you guys have came out to me in the lobby. They're like, I've seen your ads before. I've seen you online. And there's a guy next to me, and he talks about infinite banking, which is a different thing. But I just wanted to break down what is 0% interest funding. Because when I heard about this like 4 years ago, I'm like, that's a scam. That's not real. Who's going to give money for free, right? So what is 0% interest funding? It's the way the banks get you to walk into the bank, right? The only thing different from Chase to TD Bank to Wells Fargo is the flavor of the lollipop they give you, right? So that's how they get you to walk through the door, right? That 0% promo period. It could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, right? And how I initially utilized it was for real estate. And my real estate flips were only taking 3 months. So I could get access to this funding, right? $100,000, $200,000, leverage that, pay back the card, pay back the line of credit, and I effectively borrowed $200,000 for free, right? And so what these banks don't know is you can go to multiple institutions, Wells Fargo, all the big guys, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Chase Bank, and you could very easily line up these lines of credit, business credit cards to grow whatever business you want to grow, right? So that's why they give it away for free, because they want you to walk through the door and start your relationship there, because that's how banks make money. First off, they have to lend money out, and number two, they're hoping that you start a depository relationship at all these banks, right? That's crazy. So the opportunity, why 2024 to 2026 is such a ripe time to get business funding is all these banks are fighting for market share. All these banks are trying to fight against Chase Bank and Bank of America and Wells Fargo to earn your banking relationship, right? And they're aggressively giving out 0% interest business funding as well as lines of credit to grow and start your business. Like I said, I've personally gotten access to $1.5 million, and I've used this to grow an 8-figure real estate portfolio, scale my school community, and turn this into $100,000 a month recurring. And I know, there's a variety of different business owners here, whether it's a food truck or the cash swipe opportunity or whatever it is. This money is applicable to anything. It's not secured on an asset. It's completely unsecured and can be applied towards anything you'd like to apply it to. Also just, man, that's weird editing. But anyway, just want to throw some receipts in here because I hear like a lot of people talking about business funding and they've never gotten funding themselves or they have a 500 credit score. I try to get a screenshot that put my name in there, but if you really want to check me on it, I'll show you my credit score after. I have an 828 credit score. 3 months ago, I got access to a $200,000 line of credit, and then right below a $100,000 line of credit. Because the most successful people in this world, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, all these guys, Bill Gates, not coming up with new ideas every single day. They just have access to capital. Decisions in business come from one of two spots, greed or fear, right? And people know me as the money guy. They know I have access to capital. For example, I'm closing on a piece of real estate later this week where someone came to me on Instagram. They know I have access to capital. I was able to buy the piece of real estate 50 cents on the dollar because they know I have access to capital, right? So even if you're sitting there, you're like, I'm very well capitalized. If you have that $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 sitting behind you and people know that, or you seek out an opportunity, maybe you're buying a business or buying a piece of real estate, it just makes your life easier, right? And how I like to equate it is you just sleep better at night, right? So a little bit about me. There's my Instagram if you want to tap in there. Started off as a waiter years ago, was a real estate agent. I caught myself in the lobby. I was talking to someone. I was like, I was the #1 real estate agent. And then I thought about every single real estate agent I know, and they say they're the #1 real estate agent. So I'm going to rephrase that. I'm going to say that the New York Times called me the frat whisperer. So I was doing pretty well. And then a little thing called COVID happened in March of 2020. I'm like, I want to get to the other side of the table, became a real estate developer. And then I needed access to money to continue to grow that portfolio. And then very quickly, people were contacting me more for my funding and credit repair services than they were for my real estate services. I'm a frequent contributor on Fox News. I got reposted by Elon Musk a couple months ago. That used to be a flex. Now people just yell at me for that. And just got back from a trip from Dubai a couple weeks ago for being the #1 partner at this affiliate that we work with. Before and after business credit, like that's sort of a higher level. This is the last few years. Even recently, I didn't have access to business credit. I'm running this 8-figure real estate portfolio, and I don't know how to get access to money from a bank because many of you guys know maybe you've tried to go to get funding from a bank and they deny you. So when you go to a bank, the teller isn't hitting on you. You're not looking good. They're trying to get information out of you to disqualify you, right? There's so many different data points. There's about 100 different data points that can automatically decline you, whether it's the industry you're in, how many inquiries you have in your credit, the age of your LLC, all this stuff really matters, right? I swear to God, I don't know if you can see that. That's a trail cam. I was driving a Chevy Astro van. It got stolen by 2 homeless guys, and I'm like, yo, I gotta do something different. This is crazy. And then I was able to get access to business funding, and now I have a Cybertruck that makes me $8,000 a month completely passively on Turo. That's me skydiving a couple weeks ago in Dubai. That was fun too. Just a quick trajectory on my credit, blueprint, how I went through it. I went through this myself, right? I know I'm talking about all these big numbers, but it wasn't that long ago, and you'll see in the next slide. I only know how to go forward, not back. Okay, there's forward. Okay, cool. So you can see that's my name, Evan Rugan, right? I got evicted from my apartment. I didn't have access to capital, and then a couple years later, because I was able to leverage business credit, I was able to get a check for $300,000, right? So it's just having access to capital. But because of that eviction, that was the start of my credit journey, right? I just thought because I had an eviction, I had a negative item on my credit, that was just my reality. But then I realized, we all have rights. We're all consumers in America, and you can leverage those rights to remove these items off your credit report, whether it's inquiries, late payments, collections, derogatories, bankruptcies. If it's filed incorrectly, right? If there's the wrong creditor on there. There's so many different things that you can use and leverage to remove all these items off your credit report. I started this journey, with a 630 credit score because I had an eviction on there. Then, as one does, I messaged 15 people on Instagram. One guy got back to me. He sold me an ebook for $1,000. Didn't get anything out of it. Went to YouTube University, read the manual, learned how to fix my own credit. Then I learned how to build out my file. And now at this point, I can pretty much walk into any bank and get whatever I want. Right? I'm like a kid at the candy store. Already went over that slide. Just, again, one thing you know about me, I always come with receipts. For anyone who wants to pocket check me, feel free to look up the address on Zillow. Purchased for $58,000 with business credit. Sold it for two years later for $465,000 and made, that's outdated. It's supposed to be $307,000. You already saw the check, but it's okay. So, funding is useless without a plan. The most common things you can use business funding for is generally anything, guys. It can be for an Airbnb. It can be for a business acquisition. It can be for, a cash swipe type venture. If you're looking to launch a VA staffing agency, a food truck, really anything, right? But a lot of the, 90% of the reason businesses fail is they don't have access to capital, right? So how was I able to get $1.5 million and never pay $1 of interest and build a multi-million-dollar business along the way, right? The bank is a person. 90% of your questions about getting access to business funding can be thinking about the bank as a person, right? Let's think about an inquiry. An inquiry is, when you apply for a car or you apply for funding and there's a mark on your credit, right? If you go for funding and you have more than 3 inquiries, let's say you have 7 inquiries, that looks like you asked 7 different people for funding and they all said no. What if I asked you for funding right now? I'm like, yo, can I borrow $50,000? You look at my credit report and I asked 7 other people, they all said no. What are you gonna say? Right. So, but the good thing about inquiries is they can all be removed. Building out your file. Let's say I go to ask you for money, and I borrowed money from Trent, Timmy, and Tommy, but you don't know them. That's like borrowing money from a credit union. If I've borrowed money from Wells Fargo, Chase, and American Express, you know those guys. Those are big guys. So you're much more likely to get high limit approvals if you have those things on your personal credit report. Right? And then number 3, entering the bank on the right foot. So many people come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me get access to funding? Come to find out they've already been at that bank a month ago and told a completely different story. What if I asked you for funding and then a month later I go to the same bank and tell a completely different story about why I need money? They're like, what are you talking about? You told me something completely different a month ago. But in general, I would take a photo of this if you're interested in credit and just want to, because I understand this can be a lot of high level information. I was speaking in Dubai a couple weeks ago, and there was actually a guy there who showed up, and this is the background on his phone. Which I thought was pretty cool because I have a school community. He had taken a photo there. I don't know why he was in Dubai, but that's another story. But anyway, at a very high level, the same exact trajectory that I went through, I help people with, right? Level 1, fix negative items, remove incorrect personal information, remove inquiries, late payments, collections, derogatories. Number 2, strengthen your credit, build out your file, right? You can do this by adding authorized users, adding rent reporting softwares, always requesting a higher limit on your personal credit cards, make sure your LLC is compliant, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Number 3, getting non-doc funding, right? I was able to get that first, $1 million, 1.5 million without providing a tax return or a bank statement. But you don't just get that and buy a bunch of depreciating assets. You invest that into a business, whether it's cash terminals, whether it's an Airbnb, whether it's got to be something, because then you unlock the next step. Then you actually have revenue coming into your business where you can still get, $100, $150, $200,000 lines of credit. You don't need a tax return yet because banks understand, hey, this guy's only been making money for a year and a half. He doesn't have a fully filed tax return. You could still get a bunch of approvals just based on bank statements. And then after that, with your initial approval of non-doc, you've then gotten bank statement loans. And then the next level is corporate credit, where you actually have a tax return. They'll give you 15 to 20% of whatever the gross, not your net, the gross is. So let's say you made $1 million in your Airbnb business. They will give you a line of credit for $200,000, right? And then the last thing, which gets really fun, is SBA lending. We had a guy, his name's Jose. He had an HVAC business. He went through the complete trajectory. He was one of our first people to go from 1 to 6. And he just got approved before the government shut down. This was a couple months ago now. He got approved for a $500,000 SBA line of credit. It keeps going down, but it's all good. Technology can sense fear. So if you're level 1, just a quick breakdown for this, 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. So I'm always very solution based. I'm not just going to tell you all this stuff and be like, yeah, that's your credit score. Let's provide solutions for each problem. So let's say you're looking at this, you're like, oh, I missed a couple payments, right? Good news, it's all fixable, right? So I'm just going to provide an example here. Let's think about student loans, okay? So if you had negative student loan payments, okay, maybe it's relevant to someone in here. Those are technically consumer or federally backed loans, right? So if you're hit with a natural disaster like COVID, right? Remember there's the forbearance on student loans and all that stuff? Well, you can use the same thing to get those student loans removed. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about, there's natural disasters that happen all the time. You can think about the horrible, the floods in North Carolina or the fires in California. Those are the biggest examples. But there could be a strong gust of wind, and that could be categorized as a natural disaster. Believe it or not, they happen all the time. So you're able to leverage that occurrence and then, believe it or not, remove all your negative items off your student loans. And there's a zillion different examples of how you can remove repos, bankruptcies, whatever. If they filed it wrong, right? I could go all day about all the different laws, right? 30% credit card utilization. Now, the beautiful thing about business credit is that it doesn't report to the personal side, right? So you can actually leverage the money. One of the most sad realities I see in America, especially right now, is people have high credit card utilization and they can't get out of it because they started a business and they put all their expenses in the personal side. Well, the crazy thing about that is you can't even write off any personal credit card interest. That's another story. So let's say you do have credit card utilization, right? Well, number 1, just pay down your credit if it's in your ability. Pay down your credit. Your score will go up after the due date, and then you're able to refinance that with business credit. Now, let's say you're not. There's 3 solutions here. Let's say you don't have the capital to pay down your credit. Number 2 would be, let's say you have a little, maybe you have some money to put towards it. You can actually look at when the card reports the due date, and then you can pay it off at a certain time. Let's say one card reports the 12th, one card reports the 20th, and another card reports the 25th, right? You can, okay, I'm going to pay this down here. That's going to report. Boom, my score is going to go up. Okay, then I'm going to use that money to pay it down on the 20th. Your score goes up a little bit more. Then you qualify for business funding. You can get an approval and pay off the rest of your personal credit cards. That's a lot of what I do because any of the funding we're doing is at 0%. A lot of my job is just refinancing people's debt from the personal side to the business side at 0%. And the third option there, the most gangster one that I've seen, I've only seen a few people actually pull this off themselves, in the same way that you call a utility company and you're like, yo, I'm paying my utility bill tomorrow. I've been there. I've done that, right? And they technically can't shut it off. That's like when I was getting evicted back in years ago. They technically can't shut off your electric. It's the same thing with credit. If you tell them, hey, I'm going to make a full payment, right? I'm going to make a full payment on my credit report. They have to mark as, hey, that card is marked down for that one day. Now, it's very strategic, but I have seen people do it, right? Okay, 25% age and diversity, right? You can get something called an authorized user. You can you can borrow someone else's credit history and put it onto your credit report. Or let's say you're renting. There's a zillion rentals in Miami. You can put anytime you rent, you can add that to your credit report to help build out your score. And the last thing, inquiries. I see so many people that their scores drop 50, 60, 70 points because they have inquiries. These can be removed very, very easily with the right approach. I would say on average, I probably employ about 30 people just in our inquiry removal team. We work with a lot of business owners where their job is purely every single month, look at someone's credit report, remove inquiries. That's for a lot of my people that are buying cars, flipping houses, stuff like that. So that's a very easy thing. But the unfortunate reality is these banks, they if you have more than 3 hard inquiries, you're seen as a high-risk lender, which is a completely fixable issue, right? Like, I remember sitting in my apartment counting down the days for my inquiries to fall off my credit report. They stay on your credit report for about 2.5 years, when in reality, we onboard someone, we can have their inquiries removed by that afternoon. Another just thing to put things in perspective. I know there's a lot of real estate examples, but your life is just fundamentally more difficult if you don't have good credit. For my real estate guys, for every 10 points your credit score is lower, on average you pay an extra $30,000 over the course of your loan. So fix your fucking credit. It makes your life easier. And that doesn't just go for mortgages. That goes for cars. It goes for credit card. Like, you're living your life on financial hard mode if your credit score isn't optimized. And these are all fixable issues, right? These are all very fixable issues. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, yeah, credit repair will happen overnight, because then no one would pay their bills and we'd live in anarchy. But it is absolutely doable. It is absolutely doable. And we, again, I'm student number 1. I did it for my own profile. And my profile was banged up. Now, what's up, bro? Oh, it's dying? Rest in peace. Why use business credit at all? Oh, this is way better, man. This is way better. Cool. So why use business credit at all? Like I said, number 1, it doesn't affect or report to the personal side. I'll be the first one to tell you guys. You guys are all familiar with Chase Bank. I have an $85,000 limit with them. I've had that card for 6 months. I have another 6 months left on that card at 0%. It's maxed out because it's in a profitable investment. And in 6 months, what am I going to do? I'm going to pay that card down to 0. I just borrowed $85,000 for a year for free. Okay? And Chase Bank is going to be like, hey, you did a great job. Do you want $100,000? Because that's how banks work, right? If you pay them back once, it's almost like if I borrow money from you and I pay you back, you're like, okay, he paid me back. Hey, would you like to borrow some more money? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So it doesn't affect or report to your score at all. Number 2, doesn't report utilization, okay? Like I said, the trap I see so many people fall into is they start a business or they scale a business on a personal card, they buy some coaching, whatever it is, and then they're financially handcuffed because their credit score goes down. All the utilization it does not report. Number 3, higher limits. Number 4, rewards and cash back. Show of hands, how many people flew here today, out of curiosity? A lot of flyers. Okay, wow. So I'm pretty much on tour since Phoenix. These are all speaking engagements. Every single flight I have not paid for, including Dubai, where we flew Emirates, not first class, business class, still dope, but it was absolutely free. I don't know, I didn't do the calculation how much that is in flights, but like, you guys shouldn't be paying for flights. And I'm not talking like Spirit Airlines, I'm talking like Delta first class. All that to get oh my God, Spirit is horrifying. Sorry guys. Yeah, I've seen the TikToks. That looks crazy. But you can fly for free. This is what I mean by like you just by knowing this stuff. If you don't have access to this stuff, you're playing your life on financial hard mode. And like I just sort of said, all the capital. This isn't a great representation because it's a balance of $58,000. But like if you get access to business funding, you can actually utilize it without it tanking your credit score. And also doesn't show up on your personal credit score at all. Unless you miss payments. Again, just to be completely truthful. If you start missing payments, then it will report to the personal side. and then we'll have to remove it. Number 5, all the hard inquiries can be removed, even on open accounts for business funding, because it's personal inquiry, but it's business funding. Level 6, 0% up to 18 months. Again, the bank is a person. Think about how crazy of an offer that is. 18 months is what, June of 2027? What's up, brother? They are fake news. Okay. Yeah, I got you. So level 6, it's 0% up to 18 months. It's like, let's say I borrow money from this guy, and that's him saying, hey, you can borrow $25,000, dude. Don't pay me back until May of 2027. Like, these banks want to work with you guys so bad, especially if you have the right profile. Number 7, you don't need to build business credit or have revenue to apply. A lot of times, to get your business off the ground, I get it. You guys don't have revenue or traceable revenue, so you don't need that. Businesses or business funding, you can start and get those approvals to get the business off the ground. Number 8, 1% of whatever you use. So essentially, let's say you borrow 50 G's, your payment is $500 a month towards the principal. Number 9, like I said, I'm going to give you an example there in a second, so we're going to go back there. And number 10, personal credit card interest is non-tax deductible, not an accountant, but business credit is. Man, that's all good. I don't care. Example for you here. So I used to be a TD Bank guy. Right? If anyone here is from New York City, you know there's TD Banks in every corner. I was a customer with them until I started with Chase, right? The example I sort of gave before, this is sort of the big picture here, right? So that first card was probably around 2021, right? It was my first sort of experience with business funding, $15,000 on the business side. And I didn't know anything about credit, and I utilized it, and it didn't show up on the personal. I'm like, oh my God, I can just use this card and it doesn't show up on the personal side, it doesn't affect me. I'm going to run it up. $15,000 the first year, put it into real estate, sold it. Chase offered me another card. I think it was like $30,000 the next year. So $30,000 at 0%. That's another year. The next year, they offered me $50,000. Ran it up. Paid it down to 0. The next year, our current year, they gave me $80,000. What's going to happen, guys? I'm going to pay that down to 0. And then next year, I'm going to borrow $100,000, right? So you're not only getting access to 0% interest money, you're also building your relationships with these banks. You're building your relationships with these banks. Yep, absolutely. I'm personally guaranteeing. They don't show up on the personal side unless you miss payments. Because again, like if you're getting access to business funding and you're not personally guaranteeing and you don't have tax returns, what are they actually giving you? You know, what are you actually giving them? Because the thing about like if you get a mortgage, right? There's collateral there. They can take the house back. If you get a car and you don't pay it back, they repo it. Yeah. I mean, it is helpful if your LLC is a little aged. That is helpful. I'm not going to lie. But to start, I mean, I've seen people open an LLC and get funding like a week later. Now, good example here. Yeah, take pics, go crazy. Like I said, step 1, non-doc loans. You know, the goal of my team would be to get you $250,000 at 0%. And a lot of people see this and they're like, oh, I need to have something there. I need to have something ready, right? My thing is, you want to my goal is just help you guys sleep better at night. If you're sitting on a $50,000, $100,000 line of credit, business isn't always up and to the right. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have challenges. So if you can lean on that $100,000 line or that $50,000 card, it's just going to make your life easier, right? So non-doc, our goal is to get you up to $250,000, right? And then we're able to get you bank statement loans because you actually have a business. Or maybe you guys are already in business and you start at a step 2 where you already have bank statements. Or maybe you guys have 2 full years of taxes. You start with full doc. Now, this isn't exactly in chronological order, but if you sort of follow this a little bit, you can see the approvals are starting to get a lot bigger down here, like 100, 100, 100, 70. I think there was a 150 in here. Yeah, 150 right there. Again, the more you work with these banks and the more they pay you back, the more they give you, right? And again, the goal isn't to be in non-doc forever. The goal is to turn this into a tangible business and change your life. It's like I've used a lot of these cards to, again, get my school community to $100,000 a month, which has been life-changing. Are you telling me I get to wake up at 11:30 on the first of the month and I get a $100,000 check? That's sick. Funding results. So again, I just like to just stamp these things because I see a lot of people on Instagram or whatever talking about this stuff, and they're just fraudulent. That's me right there, getting an approval, $100,000. There's another one from October, $200,000. There's a client of ours that I spoke about getting $500,000, and then there's just a bunch of our clients just approval, going nuts. Now, who do we work with? All the big guys: Chase, Truist, Marcus, TD Bank. Pretty much all banks have some type of non-doc or business funding offer. Again, they have to lend out money, right? And the reality is, we were working with a guy. Man, I probably shouldn't say his name. One of you guys probably know him. But anyway, we're working with a guy, and I know I could have got him $100,000 from TD Bank because I'll get into that in a second, but I know I could have got him $100,000, and he's ready to go, and I was on the call for some reason. It's usually one of my employees, and his name is Dusty, but whatever. So Dusty gets, he goes, I don't hear from him, and he comes back a month later. He's like, I'm ready to go. I'm like, all right, dope. He starts the process. We collect all his documents, and I see he has an inquiry on his credit report. And I'm like, Dusty, what's this about, man? And he's like, oh, yeah, I went in there directly and applied. I'm like, dude, now I can't help you because the banker has all this information on you that's incorrect. You said the wrong thing, the wrong industry, the wrong stated income. Your profile wasn't set up the right way. I think you got a limit of $2,000. So poor Dusty. But so I would say definitely, have a strategy or at least consult us before going in. Now, to get this, like I've already talked about, 1.5 million. Right? You're gonna need this. Now, what is all this stuff? So essentially, one of the biggest things that people sleep on is you want to make sure you're verifiable. The bank pretty much needs to know without a shadow of a doubt that you're a real human being, right? The more data points they have on you, the more they can prove, okay, this is a real person. That's why people at my company always say, oh man, old people print. We had this guy, I think he was 84 years old. He was buying a business. I'm like, let's go, Rocky, let's go. And we got him $150,000 because he was very verifiable. They're like, yeah, this guy's been on Earth for years. So shout out Rocky. I think he was buying a car wash. Let's go. So number one, I'm verifiable. Everything matches. You look my name up online. They're like, okay, that is a real human being. You look me up on LinkedIn. You look me up on the yellow pages. Yes, banks still use that. I am verifiable, right? It's always good to have a mortgage in your name or a car in your name if possible because it's a lot. You can identity theft your way into credit cards. It happens all the time. It's a lot more difficult to identity theft your way into a mortgage or a car, right? Experience small business. Again, like a lot of, I spend about $1,000 a month on LexisNexis just to, pretty much the only people who have access to that is private investigators, banks, and me, because it will give you your entire life story, any boats you've ever purchased. I don't know why they're so obsessed with watercraft. Any traffic infractions, any bankruptcies, anything that wouldn't show up on a credit report, I have everything, right? So I'm able to consult, be like, hey, you have this, this, and this. Let's clean this up. We had a guy last week. He came around to their funding company and was all charged up. All this, none of this works. It's all a scam. And his name was Jeff. And I'm like, all right, Jeff, let me pull your LexisNexis, because I couldn't figure it out either. He had a 780 credit. Everything looked solid. And I'm like, who is this? And he's like, oh, that's my ex-business partner. He passed away 6 years ago. I'm like, okay. Well, online, on LexisNexis, it says that he is the owner of your company. So yeah, if I was a bank, I wouldn't give money to a dead guy either. So there's a lot of different things like that that can prevent you from getting funding. Because again, they have to be super careful because there's nothing securing it. There's not a mortgage behind it or anything like that. Correct big banking relationships. Now we've been very fortunate to make a lot of relationships with a lot of different bankers over the years because we've been doing it so long. And again, a banker, you have to have that high level insight. Like for example, right now we're telling a lot of our applicants, hey, wait until the new year. Why is that? Because a lot of bankers right now, they're either not available or they're not getting bonuses on any lines of credit or business credit cards they're doing. Like if you apply right now, you'd probably get a $15,000 limit versus if you apply January 1, you get a $50,000 limit. So you really need to know how the banks think. And another small thing, a UCC. A lot of people, some banks do a UCC. It's essentially a universal commercial code lien where that gets put on your business. You want to do that absolutely last in the funding process, but that's deeply technical, and we'll save that for another time. Another quick thing to know about, you want to make sure your EIN is set up correctly, your business address, your merchant category, your NAICS code. This is all the information they get when you walk into the bank, right? So many people have beautiful files. They screw themselves before they even start the funding process because they say the wrong thing, or there's just so many different things. It's almost like you're seeing the plug. You know, you're not going in to see the plug or the drug dealer and just, oh, how are you? How's your code? No, you go in, say the things, and then get out because everything is recorded, right? And again, like I sort of talked about, business website, business bank account, all that stuff, right? Now, another like few examples. So you really have to understand sort of how these banks think, and this is sort of what we study. For example, Flagstar. If you really were paying attention, a couple slides ago, I got a $100,000 line of Flagstar. Why would you see that? Because Flagstar, they're lowering their exposure to rent-stabilized buildings, meaning that they're not writing loans on rent-stabilized buildings in New York as much. That money has to be lent out somewhere else, right? So you have to follow it. Why has Chase Bank been lending out so much money over the last year and a half? Because out of nowhere, they absorbed all of Silicon Valley Bank's deposits, right? So if you have the internal understanding of why these banks are lending out, it makes it a lot more likely you know how much funding you'll get from these banks. Another thing to watch out for, any new banks, because again, you have to remember, these are promotions. This is how they get you through the door. If you can understand, what banks are expanding right now, what banks are contracting, like I said, it makes your life a lot easier in the banking world. Lastly, like I sort of said, all of our buddies sort of work at these banks. I have been able to get all this funding and get all my clients all this funding because they know without a shadow of a doubt that everyone that I'm setting through is legit and is a real person, right? There's people that come to us all the time trying to do nefarious stuff. That's why we do Zoom calls. That's why we do background checks, because my relationship is on the line when I'm speaking to these bankers, because I don't want to put through a bunch of files and then they get denied, not to get denied, they get the money and they, buy a bunch of liabilities and default. If that keeps happening, then the banks would stop lending us money. So I need to make sure that we vet every single one of our clients, and as a result, we have bankers at every single bank in the country, and we're able to get you the most funding possible. Now, a couple quick, a few more examples here, and I'll wrap it up for some Q&A. Just some, high-level approvals here. Elon Financial, 18 months at 0%. M&T Bank, that's another great one that people sleep on. I was able to get $90,000 from them. Imagine the $90,000 non-doc. You don't have a single document on me other than my $5,000 deposit in your bank, and you're like, hey, man, here's $90,000. Go play in traffic. That's crazy, but it's absolutely possible. Chase Bank, you guys already heard, you know the drill. They'll give you up to $150,000 without producing a single tax return or bank statement. Other couple examples, QuickBooks, again, maybe you're really antsy to get money. Maybe you have a business that's making money, and you're like, man, I just want to get some cash, right? I don't want to go through credit repair or whatever. Start with QuickBooks. They gave me $300,000 without a credit check, just based on the receivables coming into my business. So let's say you have a business that's making money. Run your money through QuickBooks. They give out the most aggressive terms. Another one, Lightstream, $70K, personal loan, non-document. Flagstar line of credit went through that. Western Alliance, $100,000 card, $100,000 line of credit. And then the next $1.5 million, again, is based on other relationships I have formed, right? Oceans First, that's a great bank in New York. Key Bank, Trustco Bank, a bunch of no names. My point is here, guys, is that we do all this digging for you. We have all these relationships and all these different banks, so we know how you get you the most funding possible. And it's not like, maybe you guys don't need it. It's good to just have it on ice. So if an opportunity comes up, right, you're able to jump on it. Because like I said, business is either greed or fear, right? If you can make a decision out of greed or out of opulence, right? You'll be able to probably get that transaction. Now, like I said, you guys understand the full system. Implementing kind of does take a while. There's a lot of information. It's very high level. So we built sort of a program that does everything for you. So this is only for the people that have a 700 plus credit score. I'm going to give you another thing for people that might not. So if you have a 700 plus credit score, you have more than 5 accounts, you have more than $10,000 of personal combined limits, congratulations, you are pre-qualified, as the banks like to say, and we'd love to speak to you. So if you have those qualifications, if you have a 700 plus credit score, feel free to scan this to speak to a member of my team. I looked at the bookings. They're either available Monday or Tuesday, okay? And again, it's a free call. We'll just get an understanding of what's going on with your file, what you want to do, why you want to get access to capital, and see if we're the right fit to work together. What that sort of comes with is, a lot. For every single person that flew here, you should be scanning that beautiful QR code, because in addition to helping you get access to capital, it's also merged in with our school community, so there's a lot of resources. There's a call every single day, every Monday. So like, let's say you have a call, you're like, all right, I want to move forward, and you jump in. You have a call at 4 o'clock on Monday. We'll show you how to fly for free. Every Tuesday, we show you how to get a virtual assistant. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, I could just go on online jobs.ph and find one, or Fiverr. There's 190 million people running around the Philippines. This is about taught by a guy, Franco, who actually was one of my VAs, and I actually flew him to America. He should be here right now, but he's living his best life in Dallas. He shows you how to get the best, most powerful virtual assistant and make sure that they're actually effective, not just running into a piece of sheetrock and not getting anything done. Wednesday, just call with me, just general high-level Q&A. If you're like, yo, how did you get your school community to $100,000 a month? How do you do this? How do you do that? Just a general Q&A. Thursday, credit repair call. We answer any questions you have on credit. Page to profit. I sort of show you, or my team shows you, how my page personally gets 60 million views every single month. So that's the high level there. So again, this is only if you have the 700 plus credit score. If you don't, it's all good. I have something for you. If you have the 700 plus credit score, scan that, speak to my team, and we'll get you capitalized for your next move. Now, if you don't, it's all good. I got you. I was speaking to someone earlier. He's like, yeah, they charge me, I think, $300 a month. The name of our company is letsgetfunded.com, and that was not a cheap domain. But our goal is to get you funded. We're not a credit repair company, so that's why we literally do credit repair at cost. Like I don't make money on 97. So for the guy who said that the late payment is not removable, that would be for you. So that's what this scan is going to be right here. You also get access to our school community, high-level networking, and this comes with free credit repair done for you. So if you don't have that credit score, number one, you get free credit repair. Number two, you fly for free. So I'm sure you guys probably spend like $5,000 a year on flights. That is not a cost you pay anymore. So join our community. We'll teach you how to fly for free, which is like a small nugget of all the other things we do, right? But it comes with done-for-you credit repair. You're not sending out dispute letters. We're handling everything. So done-for-you credit repair, how to fly for free, how to get a virtual assistant. There's a bunch of different funding plays in there. It's my personal roadmap of how I've gotten $1.5 million in funding. All the plays are in there, just like on a Loom. I just go through the application and show you what I did. But yeah, that's really the reason we've gotten to $100,000 a month, is because there's just so much value in there. And yeah, that's the end.